What's up, second service? Hey, give your neighbor an air high five, fist bump. Say, what's up? Everybody watching online, look at the person next to you wherever you're at, kitchen table, in bed. Look at your queen, look at your king. Say, you look good. You look good. Did you ever wonder when people are watching online, like, where are you watching online at? What is going on? And hey, everybody watching online, it's an honor to have you tune in and join in. And last week we had 28 people make a decision to follow Jesus. I heard her night. I think we might have some photos, but her night, I don't know how women just get the record number of women to show up. Takes us to have like a $100,000 bass boat all up in this place. We're already working on having a bunch of tractors up in here for the next one. And but they just show up with food and hearts on their clothes. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh! But no, I heard God did some great things, and so thank you for everybody who made that possible. Anyway, and then first service we had I think it was we had four people. We had 6 people give their life to Christ or rededicate their life. First service here in the main building, and haven't found out from the next gen yet. And then we got to meet some new people back there with Party with the Pastor. So if you're new or you've never been through Growth Track yet and become a member, and you have any questions for me and Sandy and some of our staff, some are out of town this weekend, but have any questions at all, come back there. We have some drinks and stuff to share. It's kind of funny because we had some healthy stuff, and then someone was like, I want that Coke. That Coke. So it was kind of fun, so... Well, hey, John chapter 3, verse 30 has kind of been our heart in this kings and queens talks on relationships and guarding your heart. And my prayer for you is that you win in your relationships. So go relationships, so goes life. Come on, somebody look at your neighbor and say, isn't that true? If things are not well at home, it seems like nothing is well. Come on, somebody. And just relationships, if things are not going... So look at this, John chapter 3, verse 30. It says this. Okay, I'm going to read it. It says, right there it is. He must become greater and greater, say with me, and I must become less and less. This is the kingdom way. This is the Jesus follower way. And so if you are a follower of Christ, our heart is that every day he increases and we decrease. And I think our relationships will get better and they will get stronger as we navigate through that. Years ago, I was a part of a church, and my first job was in Beeville, Texas, and I recently talked to someone who worked in the prison. I think there was more people in the prisons in that area than actually in the town. And then I was in Bible school, went to Beeville, Texas, and that was awesome, and I loved it. We went back there not super long ago, went back there, and nobody was in the church that I worked at, and so I peeked in the windows, and then somebody showed up, forgot about those door cameras, and someone showed up, can I help you? And so that was fun. But I remember after leaving Beeville and going back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, I was Topeka, Kansas. Went to Topeka, Kansas, got a job at another church, my second job at a church. And I really enjoyed. I got to do kids ministry, youth ministry, young adults, and I did maintenance as well. And I loved building teams. I loved it. And I had this idea. I wasn't single. I was married to Sandy, and I had this idea that we were going to help the singles out. So I thought we're going to get everybody together in church that's single. And we're going to do something called speed dating. Oh, yeah. You say, oh, no. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I can't tell you how many relationships are still not together to this day. And we had a 60-second countdown. And it was like you're eye to eye with somebody, right? And you had to be ready to ask some questions and answer some questions. Like you had 60 seconds, and if it went well, you got another opportunity with that person. And I don't think we ever did it again. I think that was it. And we didn't bring that idea to Elevate. And so that didn't happen. And so that was a story that was pretty fun, but you had to have the right questions. If you look throughout the Bible, you're going to see, according to ChatGPT, because I didn't count, there's going to be about 3,000 questions in there. And so God's into questions. He asked Adam and Eve, and then you have Jesus, who asked around 300 or 307 questions. One question was, as he said, "Who do you say that I am?" Other people are talking and saying, "But who do you say that I am?" To some people that were in his close proximity. And so I think questions are a big deal. I remember a frustrating time by me not asking questions. I grew up asking a lot of questions, but I think the older I got, the less questions I asked, because maybe I felt like some questions could be dumb. And I want to talk today about relationships, because questions in relationships, because I think that we possibly could be a question away from a healthy relationship, or some questions away from being unstuck in some relationships. And I think healthy people ask some healthy questions. I remember going to Bible school, and there was a board where you pull down some numbers. I don't know if they still do that to get a job. Anybody remember that? They had advertisement where somebody handwritten, "Hey, if you want to work construction, here's my number, call." Y'all know what I'm talking about? No? Job, we still work. We work, okay. Yeah, okay, so I pulled down this number, and I made a phone call because I have bills, and I'm in Bible school, and I had an apartment and had a car, and so I went to work for this guy named Roger. Now, Roger back in the 90s, late 90s, built around $500,000 to $1 million homes. And, of course, I didn't know it. I was just construction. And I remember that I didn't ask questions. And I started learning things. I got to the age where maybe pride was setting in, or maybe I thought I knew more than what I did. Like that teenage year, maybe I kind of brought that into my young adult years, where I was like, I know. And I didn't ask some questions that I wish I would have. And it was something super simple and basic. And let me give you an example. My son does mobile car detailing. So everything's in, a power washer and all this stuff, and all these chemicals, and even for the wrap cars, and he made this investment over $1,000 on this stuff to go and do. Well, here's the thing that he's realizing is some people just want a quick wash, and other people want a 4 or 5 hour detail, right? There's a difference. And I remember I went to work for this guy. He had some spec houses, and this was in South Tulsa. And so in South Tulsa, I'm working, doing some work for him, and great guy, and he was a believer, and he had a lot of workers that worked underneath him, and I kind of just did whatever he asked me to do. And I remember one time he had some houses that were for sale, that were spec houses, and over the weekend people would walk through them, and I loved the way I was learning things that now I really appreciate. When people came in, it's kind of like Party with the Pastors, you get something to drink, and I don't want something halfway cold. I want the fridge turned all the way up. I want ice cold. Come on, somebody. You ever had a Coke that was warm? Not at Elevate, because if so, you better let me know. You better let me know. You put your hand down, son. You put your hand. No. I want ice cold. I want it crisp, and especially if you're drinking water. Come on, don't you want it cold? And so I remember, he said, I want you to vacuum the house. And, of course, I walked in the house, and I'm like, this is, yes, they serve some stuff, and hors d'oeuvres or cookies or, what. I wasn't there for the showings, per se, but I'm walking, this is a beautiful home. This is, and this guy, you kind of walk in his home, and you're like, man, this is, this doesn't need vacuumed. I grew up at Mom's house, we had sheets on our furniture. No one knows what I'm talking about? We took them off when friends came over. But other than that, we had sheets on everything. And so I'm I just do a quick little vacuum, and no. Now here's the deal. He's the owner of the construction company, the building. He's my boss. So I knew back then, I learned at a young age, he has a right to say, he writes me the paycheck. So he has a right to say whatever he wants. And if I didn't do a good enough job, then his job is to critique it. Because I was in a learning phase as well. And of course, I thought, I know how to vacuum. I can vacuum. Oh, no. Can I show you a picture? He didn't want different rows going different directions. He wanted all the same direction. So I had to I learned a lesson that I should have asked. Do you want, and I remember he had me pick up stuff while stuff was under construction. And when they were building, and wanted it clean on the inside, and he wanted the lot clean. He didn't want pieces of wood and trash laying around or blowing around. I learned something pretty good that I still, to this day, try to operate by. The level of excellence that he taught me, he's like, oh, no, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. My dad used to say this, if you're not going to do it right, don't even do it at all. And I remember, it's like, you know what? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I had music and play, but I knew he wanted this to be done efficiently and effectively, and he wanted it done with excellence. Even he wanted it better looking than that, because that's two different directions. That's chaos. That's not what he wanted. And I want to help you today because one question, one symbol, what if it changed your entire relationship? We know this by some of us that have been married. I asked Sandy, would you marry me? And she said no, so I asked her again. And she said, you have to ask my dad. And I said, I'm really scared of your dad. But one question, what if it could turn an unhealthy relationship into a healthy relationship? What if it could help us in our job situation? And I want to read in 1 Kings, because there was an actual king that asked a question, but it was after God asked a question. It was after a question was asked to him. And questions, I think, should be pretty common, should be pretty normal per se. I think it should be part of something we do every single day, because the word ask could, if you're taking notes, could just be always seeking knowledge. I heard that from a pastor, always seeking knowledge, just hungry to learn, hungry to grow, never feel like you've arrived. And I know I was in a POA meeting yesterday, and we hosted here at the church, and we use the Next Gen building, and we use the facility, and people come in from the people that own houses and people that own properties up here, and so I'm not sure how, but I became president, didn't even know about it. And obviously I didn't ask enough questions. But I remember being in that meeting, and somebody mentioned, I hope this is okay to say, but I don't think we're live. But someone mentioned that Marble Falls is doing, and I might get these numbers wrong, like a $600 water treatment plant, and they're going to take sewage and turn it into drinking water. Oh, it's true. Now, immediately, growing up in the septic system business, I still got that taste in my mouth and in my nose. I have fallen in septic tanks. I have broken lids. I have dropped phones, and you cannot get that stank out of the phone. And you're like, hello, and you're like, what's that smell? You thank God when they invented the speaker button. True story. I've dropped my phone many times in sewage. Grew up in. I have a great appreciation for sewage. I love it so much, I bought a camper. Love me some sewage. But immediately when that was said, and again, you might have to do your own research, and hopefully it's okay to save that since we are live. I have a question. You want to make sure and get your sources, right? Which could be true, because there could be a water shortage in our area with all the building, construction, everything taking place. So they could be looking at the infrastructure and all of that. But it's like, I have a question. If we have an issue with drinking water out of a bottle, with the plastic particles going into our body, how are we going to drink water from sewage? Just a question. Just a question. which honestly had nothing to do really with us up here at the Gateway area. But I think it's healthy to ask questions. So I want to navigate today because even this king, watch this, it says in 1 Kings, if you're taking notes, write this down, 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 5. And it doesn't matter if you're a business owner. I don't think we have any kings or queens here, but I want to share a couple thoughts where even if you're in a high leadership place, if you're hiring people, it's good to ask questions. Come on, somebody. If you're in a tough rut with your spouse, I think it's good to ask some questions. And so I want to navigate. It says this, in Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream at night, and God said, ask me what I shall give you. God said, well, go back one more time, so sorry. God said, ask me. God said, ask me. God who knows everything, omniscient, omnipotent, all-knowing, all-powerful, God said, ask me. And let me just read through this in verse 6. It says, then Solomon said, you have shown your servant David, my father, great loving kindness, because he walked before you in faithfulness and righteousness and with uprightness of heart towards you. And you have kept for him this great loving kindness, in that you have given him a son to sit on the throne as it is today. So now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of David my father. As for me, I am but a little boy in wisdom and experience. I love his honesty. I love his humility, where he's not prideful. He's like, I am not very knowledgeable. I don't have much experience. Goes on to say this, I do not know how to go out. You know, it takes someone like that to ask questions. Someone like that to say, hey, I could use a little help. I could use a little help understanding what I'm going through, and you made it through, and I don't know, real quick, is Cade in here? He was in here first service. Is Cade in here? Cade, are you? He might be out doing security. Cade, there's a man by the name of Cade that's on our team that just got a praise report, cancer-free. 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 And it's been a tough season. It's been a tough season, what he's gone through. And you know, it takes someone that maybe is navigating through that or just got a report from the doctor. Like, that would be the person you'd want to go up to and say, how did you have hope and faith in this situation? Being so young and the doctor giving all these reports, how did you navigate through a new, like newly-wed marriage relationship, and then you had to switch jobs, and how did you handle with insurance involved? Like, being able to take somebody to be able to, how did you, because if you're going through that, you need somebody, what? That you can actually open up and ask some questions to. And so I want to talk to you about that. This is what the king did. Let me see. In wisdom experience, I do not know how to go about it, how to go out, how to come in. That is, how to conduct business as a king. If you're in a business and you own a business, I just want to encourage you, like, watch what he says. He is, your servant is among your people whom you have chosen, a great people, who are too many to be numbered or counted. So give your servant an understanding mind and a hearing heart with which to judge your people. So I may discern, if you have a Bible, circle that discern, between good and evil. Let me tell you what, if you're adding people to your team, if you're hiring people, if you're a manager and you're a business owner, like, this is the prayer. You want to ask, God, I need your help. If you're getting married, come on, I've said this before, you think you know somebody? Oh man, a person can change a lot in 30 years. 30 years. They changed a lot. And so you want the Holy Spirit, you want God to help you. And he goes on to say this, for who is able to judge and rule these great people of yours? And he's like, I need help. And then verse 10, now it pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. God said to him, because you have asked this and have not asked for yourself a long life, nor for wealth, nor for lives of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to recognize justice, Behold, I have done as you asked. I love that verse is in there. That God said, I'm going to answer your prayer. It says, I have given you a wise and discerning heart. And if you know much about him, just the wisest, wealthiest man to this day. It says, so that no one before you was equal, nor shall anyone equal to you arise after. I have also given you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor, so that there will not be anyone equal to you among the kings, and for all your days, if you walk in my ways and keep my statutes and my commandments, as your father David did, then I will lengthen your days. Got even more, but he had the right heart. And so if I can encourage you, if you're taking notes, you want to ask the right people. You want to ask the right people. Question the right people. You don't want to just ask anybody. If I'm 20 years into marriage, we still do premarital. We don't do it as much as we used to because of time, but we still do premarital. And so I do love the excitement of the new people getting married, right? They're just giddy. Some are Twitter-pated. Some are just, we're like, tell me something wrong with the other person. Nothing. We're not marrying you. Sorry, it ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. Like, yeah, you're still in la land. I'm so sorry. It just ain't. Yeah, it ain't gonna happen. Tell me, when's the last time you got in an argument? We've never argued. No, ain't gonna happen, sweetie. Sorry, ain't gonna happen, bro. No, sorry. Yeah, we just try to get people to fight. It's like fight in front of us. And can you recover from that? And so, but anyway, 20 years in, guess what? I want to be around people. You know what I mean? Like, if I want to get better, I want to ask the right people. Like, and I ask all the time. If I find out someone's been married for a long time, what's the secret? And sometimes people joke and say stuff, but I'm like, no, really, tell me the secret. Also, like, do you sit on the porch in a rocking chair and drink sweet tea? Because that's what I want when I'm like 80. Well, I don't know about sweet tea. Because I don't like stevia. I like real sugar. Don't judge me. Oh my gosh, I just felt so judged right then. Like yes, I like, but I drink regular tea too. But what do I want? I want a relationship with my wife where I'm what? I want to be like, do you enjoy being with your spouse? Like that, you know what I mean? That's the people I want to, if I'm going through a season of my life, and how about this with kids? Like if I have a teenager or two teenagers and I'm navigating and we're in a coaching season, we're not into like a discipline season of their life. That ship has sailed, right? Try discipline in a teenager. Now you're in coaching season, whether you want to be or not. So as they start getting older to the older teenage years, you're coaching them. They're making their own decisions when it comes to finances and money, and you're allowing them. And so you're in the. Guess what? I want to be around some people that their kids act and respond, operate. What are they doing in the kingdom of God? Do they love the church? Do they love God? Do they have a heart to serve other people? If we say, hey, we're going to go to the nursing home or the assisted living, and we're going to go over there and make some stuff and serve and greet, would they be willing to do it? Or would they say, no, I don't want to have anything to do with those? You see what I'm saying? I want to get her, like, hey, what did you do as a mom? What did you do? You want to ask if you're a business owner, or maybe you're a manager, or maybe you work in the office, there's certain people you do not want to talk to and ask them questions. If you're having a challenging situation or time, but there are the right people that you want to ask if you want a healthier, better, stronger relationship. Here's a queen. Since I had a king, here's a queen in the Bible, 2 Chronicles chapter 9, who actually ended up asking King Solomon. It says, when the queen of Sheba heard of Solomon's fame, when he became famous, she came to Jerusalem to test him with hard questions. Can I encourage you? Don't be afraid of hard questions. Lean into hard questions. If a relationship is not going well, you might need to ask some hard questions. Let me bring it a little bit more home. In this POA meeting, somebody mentioned that, and again, I don't know if this is true, and we're finding out. But it came up about adopting some policies in Austin. Again, I don't even know if I should be saying this or not, but I guess in Austin there's you can have 2 mother-in-law houses now on your property. You can build them. And so some people had some issues with that. Okay, I thought that was funny, but it was. Okay, so two mother-in-law houses on your property. I don't know, and I think they're adopting it possibly. I'm not really sure. And so in this story, there's a father-in-law on the scene. And he comes on the scene for a short period of time, 24, maybe 48 hours. And it says this. Some of you maybe have heard this story. Again, you want to ask the right people the right questions. Matter of fact, John Maxwell says great leaders ask great questions. I think we need to get back to just going for the big ask. Just asking constantly. Like never let a day go by where you're not wanting to learn, wanting to grow. And I think it's pretty cool how Moses had his father-in-law step back on the scene in his life. It says this in Exodus chapter 18. Okay, you got to work with me, people. It's second service. I got 12 minutes left. It says this, now, are you ready for your father-in-law to come on the scene? I was at the meeting yesterday, and I remember talking to somebody. I felt like the Holy Spirit was saying, you need to ask him a question. And I was stuck on something. I said, come back in my office. And so he came back in my office. I didn't know he was 91 years old. So I asked him a question. And then as we were leaving, I followed him out to his car. Because I wasn't done talking. I wasn't done asking questions. Matter of fact, there's a good chance if I talk with you, I might just keep talking and walking wherever you go because I just have a lot of questions. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. I want to learn. Some questions might not be super helpful, but some are. And so, but as I'm going out there, we talked about something else. And he said, hey, you need to call your father-in-law. And he said, you need to get the lead out and call your father-in-law. Now, I don't know what it means get the lead out, but I think it means you need to get action, get going. You call your father-in-law. Well, he had no idea my father-in-law was going through some stuff right now in his life, and then he just lost his last closest friend in his life. Yesterday, this happened. Now, he didn't know. I didn't say anything, but something else came up, and then he said, you need to call. And so there's going to be times that when you ask the right people that we need to act or respond. And I love that Moses did this because Moses was at the place he just couldn't handle anymore. He was absolutely overwhelmed. I don't want to read into it, but it says this. Now the next day Moses sat judge the disputes of the people. There's the people, I mean, we're talking, you know, 1 million plus people. A lot of people were coming to him, had with one another, and the people stood around Moses from dawn to dusk. He was just solving problem after problem. If you're a business owner or if you're a leader in any capacity, even as a parent, you probably feel like you're just solving one problem after another. And that's where Moses was exhausted. It says when Moses' father-in-law saw everything that he was doing for the people, he said, what is this that you're doing? Can I encourage you? Any great leader? There's 2 questions you're going to want to have. We try to have this with our staff and with our leaders. Hey, what are you working on right now? Hey, what are you doing? I think it's good to I go into my kids' room. What are you doing? Maybe not with that attitude, but like, hey, what are you doing? What are you watching? Hey, remember, no phones are allowed in the bedrooms. It's true. We don't allow phones in the bedrooms. Hey, why? So a father-in-law, so he was humble enough, and he says, why are you sitting alone? So this is information. Information. What is it that you are doing for the people? Then he said, why are you sitting alone as a judge with all the people standing around you? I thought that was interesting. I think that's a great question. What are you doing and why? I think it's good to ask people the why. Like an explanation. And I don't want to create division in the church at all because we fight so much for unity in here. But I heard this many times after I wiped all the tears away from the Super Bowl, that it was the best halftime show they've ever seen. Whoa, 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 whoa. There's the division. Reel it back. Here's what immediately. What? In my mind. Oh God, whoa, best. Ever? Like Michael Jackson in there? Like best? Like what? Like, okay. Before I jumped in, hold on a second. Hey, just curious. And I actually was amazed at listening to the younger people and the depth and the story behind a little bit of it. And I had no clue. So what I thought I was watching really wasn't as much as what I learned talking to a lot of the younger people. It's pretty interesting. Do you know when you want to have a great relationship with your kids, I think it's good to ask, hey, just curious. If an employee does something that you don't agree with, I think it's good just to say, hey, can you walk me through your process on why you did that? What were you, not in a condescending way, but kind of leaning into not criticism, but critiquing. And we all need to be critiqued. My marriage needs to be critiqued, and how I raise my kids, and how I lead, and how I live my life. Absolutely, because I want to get better. But hey, just curious, why? Son, why did you vacuum your rug the way you did? Why did you clean your sink that way? Because it doesn't look clean to me. Just kind of show me, well, Dad, you said we were low on water, so I didn't want to use much water. Okay. True story. Yeah, we are almost out of water again. Yeah, true story. Okay. A couple weeks ago, I shared that I opened up my Valentine's gift. Anybody here for that? Anybody remember what it was? I pulled out my pocket. It was a little bitty cool little thing that had like 30 tons of pressure pressed against it. Well, it broke. And I remember afterward, Sandy was like, hey, did you? Oh, my birthday. Sorry, it wasn't Valentine's. But yeah, I didn't get a Valentine's gift. Just kidding. I did. Hey, this is my birthday gift. Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to know who told her that I said that in church, because that's not cool, man. That is really not cool. You told her. But second, she's like, hey, so did you open it up? Because I wasn't there. Well, guess what? I need to be at a place in my life. Hey, why did you feel that way? Was that a big? Tell me how you felt. Why was that a big deal that I opened it up right before I went to? I think it's healthy to go to whoever you're navigating relationships with and just I think this puts us in a little bit better place of empathy. Hey, what was it? I think this is I think as many times as you get, you should ask people, especially if you want a great relationship with them. I think the closest marriages are the ones that ask a lot of questions. I think the ones that are killing it intimately ask a lot of questions. I think the ones that live a long life together and still are in love with each other, they ask each other a lot of questions. I think the ones that have the closest relationships with their kids, they ask the why. And versus, what the heck did you just do? Or my favorite line is, what were you thinking? You ever said that before? Like, I have to try to stop myself and pause, like I need to wait, hold on just a second, So if I can encourage you, Psalm 32 verse 8 says this: when you ask questions, it can bring some conflict in the moment, and you want to be careful how you ask them and the tone, but it also can bring change, and it can bring growth to relationships. And again, my heart is that you win in your relationship. My heart is that this week, that you just start asking some questions, that you ask some tough questions. It says this in Psalm. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I will instruct you and I will teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you, you who are willing to learn with my eye open to you. Are you open to learning? Are you open to some change? Are you open to hearing something you really weren't expecting to hear? And I'll be honest with you, with the Super Bowl, I just, you know what? I'm all ears. I'm listening. I want to actually hear, not respond back quickly. Because sometimes when you ask a question, you immediately want to fire back. And if I can encourage you, just wait. Just hold on instead of thinking about what you have to say or who you think the best thing is. Because I think if you're building a next-gen church, if you're always working on passing the baton, if you always want to have a church that has younger people and young families and teenagers that love God, that love the local church, I think that we all should be asking the next gen and the older gen, like I did the 91, hey, just curious, share with me why. Why was that the best Super Bowl halftime show you've ever seen? Now, I think the best part was when he said game over, because I thought the game was over at halftime. Like, I thought the game ain't coming back. But just curious why, and I think that is something super healthy. The next thought is, ask tough questions. The next one is prideless questions, that you're going to have to lay down some pride, even if you are killing it. They say that success can be like the worst teacher. And so even if you're killing it in whatever line of work, or if your marriage is super healthy, I would encourage you, keep asking questions. When I get around other pastors, hey, I was just with some pastors this last week, like, hey, tell me, like, what are you doing here? What do you navigate? We're having a lot of guests coming, but sometimes they don't stick or stay, or sometimes they don't want to become members, or our decisions and the people that are giving their life to Christ are way up here. This is awesome. It feels like revival. It feels like we're like an evangelistic and outreach church, like Paul told Timothy to do. Is like, I feel like that's the church that we have, but our baptisms isn't quite, and I know baptisms is coming up in a few weeks, but I know baptism isn't quite as high. Like, hey, curious, what is that? Or can you help me now? And I just like asking questions, but you do have to lower and have some humility. Proverbs says this in verse 11, chapter 4, dear friend, take my advice. It will add years to your life or to your relationships. I'm writing out clear direction to wisdom's way. I'm drawing a map to righteous road. This translation says, I don't want you ending up in blind alleys. You know, if you're in a situation where you're single and you're trying to find someone to marry, if I were you, I would encourage you, ask as many questions as you can. I would ask their parents questions. And if you have close friends, I would ask some of your friends. Now, you got to ask the right people. But I would ask them, hey, talk to me. What do you think? Now, I had people that convinced me to marry Sandy. Well, I mean, like I liked you a lot. Like a lot. No, like I did. And of course, I never told any woman I loved her in my entire life until Sandy. So it was a big deal to me. And how old was I? Like 40. Huh? 25 years old. And so it's a really big deal to me. But I was still nervous. And I'm like, okay, oh my goodness. Like, this is a really big. Can I encourage you? Ask questions. If you're stuck in a rut, and even outside of relationships, you're not really sure what to do and how to navigate, if I can encourage you, like, ask the right people and ask God to give you some advice. It might save you a lot of heartache. It might protect your heart, because you don't want to marry the wrong person. You don't want to go down the wrong, you don't even want to be close friends, super close friends with the wrong person. But the Holy Spirit knows, and the people that you have in your life probably will tell you if you'll ask them. It says, hold tight to good advice. Don't relax your grip. Guard it well. Your life is at stake. The next thought I have is ask impossible questions. Ask questions even if it seems impossible. Let me put it that way. If you're going through something that seems absolutely impossible, there's so many stories just in the church that I think of people. But I already got the divorce papers. Well, maybe somebody else also has, because the enemy wants to tell you you're the only one that's ever been through this. I remember when our daughter Zoe, we found out through the monogram. What? Ultrasound, same thing. And that something was wrong. You could see it on the person doing the test, or So, and we were just looking for something particular to know if it was a boy or girl. That was too much. Sorry. And I remember, I don't know what to do. Go to Kansas City, longest hour ride of our life. I'm not sure what to do. I remember, okay, God, what do we need to do? I'm stuck. I do not know. No matter where you're at in life, you can still ask. Matter of fact, it was during service. I didn't share this first service, but I'll share it with you. I just opened up my Bible to it. It says this in James chapter 1, verse 5. If any of you lack wisdom, you should just ask God. Who, and this is a comma and a comma, so it's another symbol, another placement, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. But when he asks, he must believe and not doubt, because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. That man, now this is pretty intense, that man should not think he will receive anything from the Lord. He's a double-minded man, unstable in all he does. If you lack wisdom, God says, just ask. We were in a situation, I'm not really sure what to do. I'm stuck. And the Holy Spirit helped Sandy and I on how to navigate faith through that journey with Zoe. And by the way, at her night, Zoe was in the parking lot with the blue wands, and all the ladies that went knew she was directing which way for you to go. She was trying to tell you which way to go in the parking lot out there at the age of 17 years old when they told us she would never make it to birth. So what did I do? We asked, and there was a pastor that hey, we're not really sure. And this is what she said. There's a woman pastor, and I don't know if Sandy called her or I called her. And I think they were on the phone, maybe speakerphone. And she said, I want you to know that God loves her more than you do. And that was the beginning of our faith journey. So in that moment, in that comment, I knew I could find scriptures that would help navigate us through. What are some impossible questions you need to ask? What are some things that are impossible that you feel in your life? Jeremiah 33 says this, verse 3, call unto me and I will answer you and I will tell you and even show you great and mighty things, things which have been confined and hidden, which you do not know and understand and cannot distinguish. The last thought that I have is asking leads to acting, and acting keeps you aiming the right direction. Asking the right questions, asking the hard questions, asking with some humility will cause you to step in and start acting a certain way. When I get a little bit of wisdom on how to navigate a healthy, strong marriage at year 20, because let me tell you what, year 20 is way different than year 1. And I'm sure year 40 is different than year 20. When it comes to raising kids in different seasons of their life, I want to make sure and ask the right people, get the right wisdom, and don't act like I have it all figured out. But it will lead me to some actions if I step into it, and that will lead me or aim me the right direction. The last verse as we wrap this up, hang with me, Matthew chapter 25, verse 23. You see y'all leave ladies service like wanting more, and then I go right up to my time. You're like, man, we're done. Matthew 25 is a powerful verse, and I think all of us, when we get to the end of our life, we want God to say, well done, thou good and, say with me, faithful, say the word with me, servant. This actually, I'm not going to talk about it. This actually is about resources and money. If you read this, study this out, feel free to. If your finances and your money and your resources and how that's operating isn't going the way you would like for it to go, you can study this out. But it says this, his master said to him, well done, good and faithful servants. Another time this is mentioned. Servant, faithful servant. We're responsible. We are really managers of everything God has blessed us with. Because if it wasn't for the breath in our lungs, the gifts that we have, for us to be able to do the work that we do, the finances and resources we have, we are actually either faithful or faithless with them. We either serve God with them or we don't. I think a great question, that's why we encourage this book, for every man to take their family through it. It asks great questions. It asks some questions like, you ask your kid, what's your favorite verse? What is it you're believing God to do through you this year? What areas should we serve as a family? I think it's a good question to ask. Where are you serving? Are you serving? If you're not, he doesn't say, hey, well done, thou good and faithful church attender, which we try to have a thing, hey, never miss a Sunday if you really want to grow and increase and for everything that God has for you. But where are you serving? If you're not, what would this look like? Will there even be a comment? Will there even be a statement? Well done, thou good and faithful. Oh, wait, where did you? And this isn't because you need to be serving. It's not that we need you serving. This is part of being a follower of Jesus. How are we serving with our finances and our resources? You have been faithful and trustworthy over little. I think it's a good question. Have we? Because see here, when I get towards the end of my life, what I want to teach my kids to what? Be trustworthy, to be faithful. I want that when that day comes, that Jesus says, well done, thou good and faithful. I want to train up and make sure my wife and my kids and my grandkids are on track. Hey, I think it's a good question to ask. Relationally, it says, I will put you in charge of many things. Share in the joy of your master. So if we're in charge of our resources and our finances and our time and our energy and we manage it in this life, then this story will help you understand it. There was a gentleman that a while back would walk down the street, and he was a homeless man, and I remember people would help him, and I don't know how much, but financially give money, and I remember that it wasn't too long later that we're in the car driving, and of course we always try to teach our kids that, again, you want to raise your kids that wherever God wants you to serve, I want to encourage you to serve. Because at the end of the day, Jesus says it's more blessed to give than it is to receive as a follower. Again, more of you, less of me. And so and if you're not serving, I would ask yourself, why? Why? Why would that be? And if you're not faithful with small things, little things, why? And so we're in the car, and I run into this person, and I got my family, and you know what? You go from O'Reilly's, and you kind of navigate through where you're going to the UPS store, right, with the line out the door. No? Okay, I'm the only one. Okay. So I'm going through, and I see this person, so I pull over, and we're in Sandy's car, and so I'm just like, hey, how you doing? And trying to navigate, like, do I give him some money? I'm like, hey, did you find a place to stay? And as I'm asking these questions, it was like I think you misunderstood. Like, I don't need money. I have like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm choosing to live this way. What? Whoa! Like what? It's like, okay. Wow. But thank God why? Because I'm responsible. Come on, somebody. I'm responsible for my generosity and my giving and teaching my kids. And so I want to be faithful. So I would encourage you. That's why when we do offering, we don't tell anybody to give. We never have. In a building, when we bought this building for the down payment, the next gen building, anything in the future, we're not going to ask. We ask you to ask God. See what they're asking? You ask God. What is it He wants you to do? What is it? Ask God. I think the most healthy relationships are the ones that serve together. I think the most healthy families are the ones that serve together. If you can get your whole family to serve on a serve day, serve somewhere. So I think it's a good time to ask, hey, this year, let's set a goal. What we're going to do, how we're going to do it. I think great friends serve together. I think great teams. Matter of fact, all of our crews, we ask all of our crews to do some kind of a serve opportunity, even if you join us on a Saturday serve day. Every head bowed, every eye closed. God, I hope I navigated that in a healthy, life-giving way, God. My heart, God, is for people to have a healthy, strong relationship, and where relationship seems like they're coming to an end and there's no hope, God, that you can breathe fresh wind in. And Lord, something super practical that you've helped me with. You've asked me questions. Jesus, you've asked questions through your word. Holy Spirit, you've prompted questions. So God, I pray that we all live a life continually asking and acting and aiming the right direction that you have for us. Every head bowed, every eye closed. If you're in here today and you say, Pastor Shane, I want to make Jesus the Lord of my life. If you have a tug on your heart, you want to ask him, the most important relationship is in this moment. Would you put your hand up, put it right back down? I'm not going to embarrass you, humiliate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Nobody looking around, thank you. I'm not going to have you come forward. I'm not going to ask you to do anything besides we're just going to pray together. That's it. Thank you. I see that. Anybody else looking from the left to the right? Thank you. I see the hand right there. Anybody else? Thank you. If you're watching online, you can raise a hand. Can we all say this together? Say, Jesus, I ask you to come into my heart. Be the Lord of my life. Forgive me. Help me navigate all my mistakes. Wash my sins from the east to the west. Thank you for dying for me and paying a price I should have paid. In Jesus' name, give them a big old hand clap. And Sandy for saying yes.
Aren't y'all so glad his friends convinced him to marry me? You could have any other
That is not what I meant. That is so not what I meant.
That's what I heard. That's what if I recall, the conversation said, if you don't marry her, you are stupid, that's what I remember.
Okay, that was
happening.
true.
Hey, if you prayed
Why
that,
do you feel that way?
If you prayed that prayer, today's the best day of the rest of your life. And we don't want you to pray the prayer and stay the same. We do want you to grow in your walk with Christ. There's a card in your seat pocket that says, I'm choosing to follow Jesus. Fill it out, drop it in the giving station so we can email you some info, or you can take it to the hub and grab a book back there. Y'all have the best week. Ask some questions. We'll see y'all next Sunday.